Girlfriend, she's going to college right now, and I had a call with her because I knew this conversation was coming up, and the conversation was like, hey, by the way, I don't want you to work. Like, I want you to stay home. And like hobbies and stuff, absolutely. Keep yourself sane, but I want you to kind of be home with me and stick with the kids and raise the kids.
Right, guys, we're going to be talking dating, dopamine, trad wives, OnlyFans, and incels with a special guest, Sebastian Ghiorghiu. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on, man.
Hey, guys. Yep. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. And as I told you before we started, I wasn't aware of your super big finance background on YouTube. And that was something I became aware of as I started looking into you and looking into your story. I came to know who you were, Sebastian, by a TikTok video. And it's a TikTok video that we're going to show here shortly of you talking about the traditional lifestyle that you want to have with your future wife, where she's essentially what we've deemed to be a trad wife these days, the woman who stays home, takes care of the household, takes care of the kids. And we'll get to that video. But before that, I would love if you just introduced yourself and told everybody exactly who you are and what it is you're up to these days.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Sebastian Ghiorghiu. I just turned 24 years old. I'm a Romanian, full Romanian. My parents immigrated here in 1980 from a communist country, or Romania was a communist country at the time. Grew up very, very poor, developed a drive to make a ton of money. So yeah, as right out of high school, dropped out of college, started my first business, and then started a ton more just to save you all the time, but started a ton of stuff, started my YouTube channel and become a millionaire and became a multimillionaire. And then started really growing and getting a lot of attention. Started bringing up my views, and yeah, here we are today. So today I still have a marketing agency. I have a SaaS product, which is a subscription as a service, so a technology company I'm working on. I do real estate investing, so I'm building a property right now. I do private lending, and I have a YouTube channel as well. And I have a free course and like affiliate offers within the free course. So I'm doing a lot of stuff right now.
Super cool. Yeah, I was looking into your background and you told this story, which is very similar to something that I did as a kid of selling muffins at your school and getting shut down by the administrators. And I heard that and legit thought back to my time in middle school. When I was in middle school, I started hustling, selling candy, and I would come to school with my lunchbox filled with like candy that I bought in bulk at Costco with my mom. And I would sell like 3 lollipops for 25 cents and just rack up change all day long. And I ended up getting shut down by my teachers. They couldn't handle the young entrepreneurial spirit that we had in school, but clearly that has stayed with you. Was it really growing up poor that made you have the drive for wanting to create wealth, or was that something that was just always present in you?
No. Definitely growing up poor. I think it's a result. I'm a result of my environment. I don't think it's like anything genetic, to be honest, because I remember just so many situations as a kid where I was humiliated due to the fact that my mom didn't have any money. So like I could never get new clothes. I was made fun of for the clothes that I was wearing at school. So like we'd go shopping at Value World, which is like thrifting stores in Michigan. And yeah, just like never being able to go out and get food with my friends. And they'd be like, why aren't you eating? And I'd be like, I don't have any money. And only when we went to McDonald's, nothing but the dollar menu. So that was dinner sometimes. So just a lot of humiliation, a lot of shame as a kid. And those are two very, very powerful, emotions. And I was like, as a very young kid, I was like, I'm never, ever putting my kids through this. So no matter what I do, I'm going to have to get stupid rich. So that's why I was actually going to become a doctor. So that's what I dropped out of college for, was medicine. So that's where it came from. Yeah, humiliation.
Medicine's definitely like a very long route to get there, as I'm sure many who are watching this know. When did success really start for you? Because you're 24 now, and I'm sure people are hearing and going, multimillionaire, that's insane with the age that you're at right now.
Yeah, so I started a thing called drop shipping, which is actually what we teach now in one of our completely free courses. But I started drop shipping, which is the idea of selling products on the internet as right out of high school, or like right at the end of high school. And I just created a unique little brand, and I ran some ads on it on Instagram, and people were buying my stuff. And I had suppliers out in different countries, and I would buy these products from the suppliers and then mark them up, make like a unique brand around it, have like packaging around it, and then I would, sell it for a higher price and make the profit. So I remember, making $400 in a day. That was like one of my first success. Right when I was about to quit, I made $400 in a day while I was caregiving at my job. And I was like, I had to have been like 18 probably at the time, 18 years old. So I made like $550 in a day. And I was like, dang, that's pretty good. And I kept going. And then it became 1,000 in a day. And then like a couple months later, it became 2,500 in a day. And then like during the holiday season, I had a store. That's what we call it, like a dropshipping store. I had a store that did $10,000 in a day. And then the year after, I did $36,000 in a day. And that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And then every single year has just been more and more. So like with money, I'm not going to make this into like a finance podcast. I know that's not what we're doing, but
Sure.
With money, one of the fundamental things is it's really exponential. So once you start, the hardest part's the first 100 grand. And then that's why, if you're smart about it and you keep going, it's just really exponential. So we've had 100K days. And then actually October of 2022, I made $1 million in a month, and that was profit. So $1 million in a month. It was actually like 3 weeks, which was absolutely crazy. So it's been really fun, but plenty more in store if you guys want to pay attention.
A wild, wild ride. I'm going to move on to other subjects now that we've established what it is that you do and why you're here. Sebastian, do you consider yourself to be a white male?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I look pretty white, and I am a male. So yes, I am a white male. Yep. Straight white male.
Straight white male. One of the worst things that you can be. We have two other straight white males here today. We've got Taylor, my producer. Hi, Taylor.
What's up, guys?
And we've got Cam, who is, I guess, another producer and specialist on our side.
Guys?
So I'm surrounded by the enemy in this
a lot
moment.
of
It is. And like I said before, I got to know who you were because of a video that got posted on the internet of you talking about essentially wanting a trad wife and wanting your girlfriend to fulfill that role for you. And we're going to play the video just so everybody has the background knowledge here.
Girlfriend, she's going to college right now, and I had a call with her because I knew this conversation was coming up, and the conversation was like, hey, by the way, I don't want you to work, like I want you to stay home, and like hobbies and stuff, absolutely, keep yourself sane, but I want you to kind of be home with me and stick with the kids and raise the kids. I don't want you leaving at 9 a.m. and coming back at 5 to go work for like a corporate job. And she said, I'm so happy and thankful that you're the type of man that wants to work hard so that I don't have to. She said those words to me, and like, bro, I melted. I was like, oh my God, that's like music, bro. It's like, that's the best thing I've ever heard in my whole life. Because so many guys want to work hard so that they can provide, so that the girl can stay home, and they don't want the girl or whatever, like they want to be needed. They want to be the man, I feel like, or maybe that's just me. Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there. But yeah, and she said that, and I was like, you have no idea how many girls would say the absolute opposite, that they would never admit something like that, or they just wouldn't feel like that. They want to do their own thing.
Okay, let's pause it there. The caption on this is me blind reacting to the scariest short horror film on TikTok this week. So, Sebastian, did you put out this video?
So yeah, my team did. It wasn't me. I didn't edit it. I didn't caption it or do anything, but I filmed the podcast with my business partner. We brought up a little bit of like a touchy subject, and we knew it was a little bit touchy when we talked about it, but I certainly didn't expect it to blow up like that. So, but no, I didn't actually physically post it. My team did. So gotcha. I take full responsibility. I take full responsibility for it.
You did say the words. It's so crazy to me to think that this is a touchy subject and something that you sort of have to tap dance around when you're going on podcast, of just not only because it's your view for your own life, but also because this is probably what a lot of women want, whether or not they're ready to admit it. And what I saw when this video got posted was just an influx of people talking about how much of a red flag it was. I thought one of the first comments was, this is such a horrible red flag, and it had like 15,000 likes on it. So this is clearly, you said it was a touchy subject, so this was clearly a response that you anticipated to your views.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be controversial. I knew that society and like the program right now, like society programs women to completely go against what I was saying. And I've seen TikToks before, and I've dated girls in the past that were completely against that. And, I've met their friends, and like, I've been around people like this, and I've seen it on the internet. So I know people wouldn't be very happy to hear what I was saying. And I've seen TikToks, of course, like of other guys saying something similar, and it just did not go very well. But like you
Yeah.
said, I mean, it's the way I live my life. I picked these views for a very particular reason. Like you could say I'm only 24 and I don't have a lot of experience in life, but I've already done quite a lot. I've made a ton of money. I've traveled a lot. I've dated for a while as well, and I've seen a lot of things. And I've been very intentional with like my moves in life, and I've been paying attention to what I do want, what I don't want, and what I think is good, like good characteristics, good behavior, and bad behavior. And ultimately, that's why. I mean, I believe what I said, and people can hate on it all they want, but I think it's funny to me. Like it's the girls like that say that that's a red flag. Which I have another point about this, but the girls that say that that's a red flag, those are the same girls that are going on TikTok that are like celebrating and bragging about their anxiety and their depression and their loneliness. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, why are you going to go out here and clown on me for how I live my life when you are not living a good life and you're openly admitting it? It's like I'm living a great life. You could watch my other content. I have a podcast where I say I've been climbing on a happiness scale. Like it's been consistently getting
Mm.
better and better and better and better for the last 3 years with no downturn. Like I'm incredibly happy. I love it. I have everything I've ever wanted. It's great. Like God has blessed me beyond belief. So it's like, obviously I'm probably doing something right. Like I probably figured something out because I'm not on the internet complaining about my depression. So I don't know if anyone should be listening to anyone about maybe how to live their life a little bit. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think it's kind of funny,
Right.
but
Right.
yeah.
You make a really valid point there, and I think especially in the mental health conversations as far as depression and anxiety, it's been incentivized to sort of glamorize and fetishize it on the internet and talk about all these things that you're dealing with. And it does often happen to be from the very same women who are complaining about things like what you just said. And there seems to be a strong shift with young women now. Like I'm 22. Most 22-year-old
Oh,
girls are not concerned at all with who they're trying to marry. They're not concerned at all with having kids. And they're certainly not talking about staying home. Although I think it's something that they're going to realize later as they grow up and as their lives start to form out in the way that they're planning them, like slaving away to a corporation your entire life and having nothing of true fulfillment. But I'm curious, and I'll open this up to really all the guys, and first you, Sebastian. Do you think that most guys feel the way that you feel? Are most guys trying to go out into the world and provide for a woman and find that trad wife, or are most guys the opposite of you?
yeah, no, absolutely no. Most guys are not the opposite of me. Okay. First
Mm.
of all, the reason I'm building such a strong following on the internet right now, and I have these views, and people like they love me. They're so supportive of what I say, and they're like, Sebastian, what you say is like you're such an inspiration for saying this stuff, and I like this is how I feel. Also, Jordan Peterson, he's like a father on the internet, like a father figure. And he basically, his message is you need to be strong, like you need to be a real man, et cetera, right? And he
Mm.
said in an interview himself where when Jordan Peterson says like, hey, men, it's your job to go out there and like carry a burden, like have responsibility, like do something hard. He said that the way that the boys look at him is like, they're like, oh my God, that's like all I've ever wanted to do because men have this fire. It's all inside of us. We want to provide. We want to collect resources. We want people to depend on us. It makes us feel useful. It makes us feel good. It gives us a purpose in life. If people depend on us, if people need us. And if not,
Mm.
then we become depressed and lonely. So I think a lot of guys do feel this way, even if they A, don't admit it, or B, just don't know because they're lost, because they're distracted watching porn or playing video games or doing whatever. They just don't know it yet. And when they hear like somebody like, for example, Jordan Peterson, or if like it's a younger guy and he watches my channel and he's like, yes, like I want to be like that. I want to provide for my girl. I want people to look up to me. I want the respect. I want like the fast cars. I want to do that. And I think most guys could agree with it. I think most guys would, but maybe they're just lost.
Mm. What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I could have said it much better, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We talk so much about toxic masculinity, but we rarely ever talk about what healthy masculinity actually looks like. And what you're describing with how Jordan Peterson talks about it is hitting the nail on the head. It's about, instead of using the advantages that you have because you can, you have more physical strength, you're more independent, you have that drive to go out and conquer and accomplish, you harness that and use it to something productive, and then use that power to take on responsibility and shoulder the burden of a relationship, of being a provider, of creating a safe space for a marriage to flourish, for a family to flourish. That should be that is what healthy masculinity looks like. And it shouldn't be so controversial to say that, but somehow the narrative has flipped in this generation, where young women are being taught to think that that a man who wants to be responsible for a family and would like to have a more trad wife is somehow, that's a toxic sentiment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
so
mean,
crazy. Yeah, go for it.
sorry. There's no, I just want to say, I don't believe in the term toxic masculinity. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's only masculinity. If you are a masculine male, then you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're choosing to do the hard thing so that the other people don't have to do the hard thing. You're choosing to work hard, to wake up early, do the hard job so that your girl doesn't have to, so that she could be happy, so that your kids could have a good environment to grow up in. Like, you're choosing to do the right thing. There's no such thing as a toxic masculinity. If there's a guy and he's like, let's say he's an incel, or he's like using his power or trying to control a girl or trying to do like what people say is toxically masculine, that is just not masculine at all. That is just not a masculine thing to do. So I don't believe in that term.
Yeah, I completely agree. So often when you hear people, say a radical feminist or just a random girl on the internet, describing what she believes is toxic masculinity, it's just bad traits for any human being. Like, if I was doing these same exact things, you wouldn't call me toxically masculine. You would just call me toxic, or you would say that I was being disrespectful or condescending or demeaning, whatever the case may be. So it just goes to show that I think there is a bend towards putting down men and being demeaning towards men because we want to move towards some sort of like amorphous anti-masculine future for some reason. Although I don't think that's going to be particularly beneficial to women whatsoever. When you bring up Jordan Peterson, what it brings up for me is that, like, on the flip side of Jordan Peterson, you also have these so-called hyper-masculine, like Andrew Tates. And regardless of how do you feel about his arrests and all that, we'll leave that aside because that's going to be a totally different conversation. I want to talk about his message towards young men, because I do think there's some goodness in what Andrew Tate has to say as far as taking ownership and responsibility and accountability for yourself as a man. But he also steps into conversations about, like, how many women can you sleep with and how many women can you get, which I would imagine is something antithetical to what you think, because you're taking on this monogamous, I want the one girl, I want to grow with this woman for the rest of my life, and I want her to be there for me and be my partner. What is your view on the flip side of that coin, where men are saying it's masculine to get as many girls as possible?
Yeah, so Andrew Tate, yeah, certainly a lot of what Andrew says is good for men at the end of the day. It's harsh, it's pretty blunt, but I think that's what men need. They need to be challenged. They need to be like said, hey, like, yeah, just challenge is a good way to put it. And I've actually met Andrew Tate in person. He's been nothing but very, very nice to me. So I only have good things to say about him. The thing I disagree with, like you were just bringing up, is obviously him sleeping around and being with a bunch of girls. And I don't think that guys should do that. And I don't think that's a masculine thing to do either. I think that's kind of an immature thing to do in a way. I think it's harder. Like I said, masculinity is about doing the hardest thing and doing the most righteous and noble thing by God. So doing the most righteous thing is picking a girl and having a family with that girl and setting an example for your kids and for everyone else. So Andrew Tate, I think it's pretty public that he has kids now with a few different girls. And I don't think that's setting a good example for his boys or his girls. To be honest, I don't think that I would want to see like my father sleeping around with a bunch of girls either. I think it's much healthier for a child to grow up with a man and a woman married, living in the household together. And I think that's a harder thing to do, right? Because certainly, if you're Andrew Tate, if you're a millionaire and you're good looking and a professional fighter, you can get any girl you want and you can sleep around with other girls and like get away with it. But a harder thing to do would be to pick one girl and to just be with her forever. I think that's a harder route to take, and that makes it more masculine in a way. It makes it more righteous. And that's why that's going to be what I'm trying to do. Like, relationships are really hard. Yeah, I think that's the better way to go.
Yeah, I think there's an element of taking in temptation and going, you know what, I'm not going to be a slave to that. It's not going to be something that I follow to the ends of the earth, because that wouldn't be super masculine whatsoever. And I think it's a missed message when men are getting that. And unfortunately, we're in a space right now where there's a lot of young men who are going to the internet and searching for somebody to be a role model for them, because maybe they're not getting it in the home, and they're fatherless, or they don't have some sort of role model. And then they're finding people like Jordan Peterson or like Andrew Tate or like yourself. And I'm curious how that's been for you, because I imagine your audience is skewed to the male end of the spectrum and probably skewed young. Do you feel like I have some responsibility to this audience to showcase my values and to stand true to those values?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a ton of pressure actually, and it's interesting that you bring that up. No one's asked me that question, but most of my audience are males between 18 to 25, and then after that 25 to like 30 or something like that. So it's mostly males in their 20s. And yeah, I do feel like I have this pressure to set a good example. And I absolutely do my I do my best, you know, like I go to the gym and I have my girlfriend, and I talk very highly about her, and I go to church, and I make a lot of money, and I work hard. Like I'm trying to lead by example, right? I'm not just out here saying this is what men should do, and I'm not doing any of that stuff. Like I actually lead by example. And I think it's good, but there is a ton of pressure. But I feel like this is something that God has called me to do. I think that I'm spreading a good message. I think I'm spreading the right message. You know, I know how I've done in life, and I've been incredibly happy and incredibly fulfilled. And I've come from, as a child, being incredibly numb, growing up without a father, being just very numb to everything, and then finally starting to feel emotions, and then being depressed for many years, and then finally, like after all of this, just figuring it out and being truly happy and truly fulfilled every single day of my life. So I kind of feel like I figured something out. And when guys tell me that they're lonely or that they're depressed, I want to help them. I want to help them. It's the same reason I started my channel. So I found out how to drop ship, and I found success really early. And I was like, dude, this money is life changing for me. Like I can't imagine how many people are in my shoes that could also benefit the way I have from this. And I need to share that with them. So that's what my channel originally started. I'm just like, hey, I'm not an expert, but I'm just going to do it. And I'm just going to show you guys what I'm doing. And so it's really the same thing with like the gender stuff now as well. It's like, I'm just a kid after all. I'm only 24, you know, like I haven't been on this planet as long as some other people, but I've learned a few things. I've learned a few tricks. I've figured my way out through life a little bit, and I'll give the sauce to anyone that wants to listen.
That's dope. I love it. I love that you're sharing the prosperity, trying to share the wealth and pass it on to other people. And it's interesting that your YouTube channel is very finance focused, but you slip in little lifestyle tidbits and tricks in there, which I think is really helpful, because somebody will come to you and say, "Oh, well, yeah, well, Sebastian's really helping me with finances, but also he just released a video about how to be productive, or he released a video on how he's gotten into fitness." And that can be a really important thing to weave in, and it's content that you can be starved for on the internet if you're not looking for it. I'm curious, because you're at this stage now and this is what you're doing. How exactly did you get there? You talked about not growing up with your father. It was the same way for me. And of course that affects girls in a really specific way. And we've talked about that on the show. Like when you grow up with a dad, you don't exactly know what to look for in a man. You don't know what a healthy relationship looks like when you grow up. And I think a lot of what young women are dealing with right now is, yeah, you didn't have that father figure to show you what a man is supposed to look like. And now you're trying to fill that void, or you have some sort of deeply held hatred or vitriol towards men. So you're falling for ideas like toxic masculinity. But for guys, I imagine that looks different. So I'm curious how it affected you.
Yeah, it's tough, and it sucks. Every man needs to have a father figure. Every man needs to be told that they need to be strong and they need to grow. And if they don't, they're just gonna grow up feeling worthless and like useless to the world. I would say that's probably a good way to describe how I felt as well. Like I just didn't know who I was supposed to be. Like I didn't know what I was supposed to do in life. Nobody was telling me who I was supposed to become and like guiding me. Like that's what parents are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to like, they've been through life and they're like, hey, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had experience. Like I'm going to help you so that you don't have to go through as much pain as I did or something like that. And just growing up without a father sucks. Like, you just don't know how to become, you don't know how to treat women, you don't know how to treat men, you don't know how to carry yourself, how to behave yourself. You don't know any of these things, and it just makes you feel like worthless, like meaningless to the world. So what happened for me, like growing up without a father, I feel like I became my own father. Like, I became the person that I needed. And that's why I am who I am today. And I feel like I can rely on myself now, and I can protect myself now. But yeah, I guess that's how I would feel. Just like useless, like worthless.
And where did you sort of seek out masculine figures, or where did you find them? Because like we said, a lot of people are going to the internet and searching for people, and you can find the right person, or you can find the exact opposite of that and fall down the rabbit hole there. Did you just pursue that on yourself? Was it something that you just sort of came to the light? Did your mom influence you? What was that like?
Yeah, I guess I always just felt like weak, and I just kind of I didn't really have like any idols, I guess, until I guess Jordan Peterson was one. But I've always seeked out like self-improvement, and especially in like the masculinity part of my life, just trying to be more masculine since I was like probably like 19 or 20. But I didn't really have any role models. I would say Jordan Peterson helped a lot, and actually Andrew Tate, like on the complete opposite spectrum. I've known him for like 6 years, so like I knew him when he had like 30,000 followers. He used to say some stuff that was good, about like not being weak and going to the gym and stuff like that. So that was good back in the day before he became super popular. But I didn't really have an idol, to be honest. And whenever I saw something I liked in a man, like some trait about a man, I would pay attention to that, and I would feel like, okay, I need to bring this into myself, and I need to do this myself. But I didn't really have anyone that I idoled, to be honest.
Well, that's good. I mean, in a lot of ways, you shouldn't really idolize anyone. And I imagine, Taylor, you would agree with a message like that. But it's kind of hard when you're a young guy growing up on the internet right now. Like, a lot of people like ask the question, is it worse for women? Is it worse for men right now? I don't know. I feel like it's a pretty tough time for dudes out there right now in today's day and age.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, so here's the thing. Like, yeah, most loneliness is guys are killing themselves. They're committing suicide. The girls today are competing for the top 20% of guys, and the guys that are like average, like 6 and below, are completely invisible. Like, they don't even exist anymore, because of social media. So the perception, like, girls are a little bit more entitled. They want to have like the Chad nowadays, and it's leaving these guys completely like invisible. But on the same side, the most depressed group of people on the planet is women that are 40 years old that make over $100,000 a year. It's women that are lonely. And so it's like women have been fed this agenda that they need to be independent. And this is like all by design. Like, this is definitely to their detriment. But they've been fed this agenda, and women listen to it, and they believe it. And so they're also feeling depressed and anxious, and guys are lonely. So it's like, we can argue which gender has it worse, but I think both. It's pretty bad. I think it's pretty bad on both sides, and I think there's work to be done by men and by women. Like, you guys, we both need to, as a gender, both need to take accountability, and relentlessly try to fight against these people that are trying to ruin and destroy our lives, and become the absolute best version of ourselves. And this is something I'm really, really passionate about, because I have been on this journey to become the absolute best version of myself for the last 8 years. And it's rendered me like any option I can have. Like, it's rendered me anything. I'm in great shape. Like, I look good. I take care of myself. I feel like I'm intelligent. I'm wise or whatever. And because of that, because I've been on this journey, I've seen so much improvement, and it's really made me like a very proud of myself person. And it's such an amazing feeling. It's such a liberating feeling to really like look at yourself and be so genuinely proud. And I want everybody to have that feeling, and they should. And another thing is, humans are like, what's the word? Like, you can always improve yourself. Like, you can make yourself better. So let's say you're like a 6 or a 7, and for 2 years you decide that you're going to work really hard on getting fit and just taking care of yourself and reading and whatever, just improving yourself. You can slide up that scale. And if you do slide up the scale, you'll have more options available to you. And then you can kind of be more choosy and picky with who you want to be with. So you can be like, for the guys listening, you could be with girls that are more attractive, or that are more like obedient or whatever, like they don't have attitude or whatever. And for girls, you can get guys that make more money or guys that have more status or guys that are more attractive. And that's good. That's a good feeling. You deserve it. So like, if you work really hard on yourself, you can earn cooler things in life. And that's been my experience so far. And I've like, it's great. So that's why I'm out here telling people in every area that you possibly can, work on it every single day and become as good as you possibly can. Like evolve and level up your character as if you were in a video game, because it just gets better and better. So like, why would you not, you know?
Yeah. I can already hear the TikTok edit on what you just said. It's going out. It's going viral. Let's
Whatever.
talk about that, because there's a few things you touched on, and I like that you're very unapologetic, as we say on this show, about the things that you feel. So first, let's touch on the spiciest part that I know anybody who's a feminist who just heard you is going to have their ears perk up. What do you mean by men wanting an obedient woman? Because I think this is probably a very common theme for guys, whether or not they want to admit it or not. They're not going to say it. They do want a woman who, when we say obedient, we're not saying like you're going to talk to a woman like she's a dog and expect her to stand in line with you. But I think what you're saying is a woman who stands by your decisions as a man and seeks you out for advice, seeks you out for decisions, and really being the head of the household. So what is it that you mean there, and why do men, or at least why do you want that?
Look, when I say obedient, I mean a girl that does not have attitude, a girl that does not fight me on every single decision, a girl that does not make my life harder than it needs to be. My life is already hard. Like I just finished explaining that I actively seek out hard things. Like I go and do the hardest things that I possibly can do. So I don't need to come back home after my hard day of going to the gym, working extremely hard, getting better, getting smarter, doing all these things. I don't need to come back home and have every single decision of mine or everything that I say get questioned or challenged by a girl and just have this tension. Like I need my girl there to be there for me and support me and be like, you are killing it. You're doing a great job. And that's what really pisses girls off, because they want to have like their own thing in life. They want to do their own thing. They don't want to support a man. They want to go out and have their own career. And if you do, that's fine. Do you remember what I just said about the most oppressed group of humans on the planet? Like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. If you don't think that'll be you, then all right, go give it a shot. But I want these girls to know that if you are 40 and you do make $100K a year and you have Louis Vuitton bags and you go on a snowboarding trip by yourself or with your girlfriends when you're 40, good luck finding a guy then. So it's like, do you really want to run that risk? Like you're taking a really risky bet there. If you want to do that, if you want to, go for it. It's your life. It's not mine. But yeah, I live a hard life and I just want my girl to be by my side. I've dated girls in the past that fight me and it's hell. It's like a living hell. Look, if I'm the man and I'm dating you by intention and my plan is to marry you and be with you, you need to understand that every single decision that I make is in our best interest. So if your mom says you should do this, if your mom gives you advice or your friend gives you advice, you need to understand that no person on the planet has a better interest than I do, because my interest is in our relationship. Nobody else's interest is in mine and yours relationship, right? Everyone else is going to have their own bias, their own agenda, or their own whatever. But for me, I just want us to win. We are a team. So that's why it's like every single decision I make it when I think about us together and the success of our relationship. So I'm never going to do anything to jeopardize that. Your friends, they will. Your mom, your parents, your toxic, whatever, other people will. But me, no, I won't. And I won't speak for all guys. I'm going to speak for myself, because I know that all guys are not like that. I understand that. I have a nuanced perspective on this. I understand that all guys are not like that. But the thing is guys have to become like that. They have to become like that strong person that finds one girl and it's like, yo, I'm going to date you. I'm going to marry you. You need to like grow up and be an actual person. So like, I know I could probably get through to these feminists. Like they could probably understand where I'm coming from, being like, okay, well, most guys are not like you. I agree. They should be, though. They should actively try to continuously better themselves. And it's not even about being like me. It's not. I don't want people to be like me. I just want people to be the best version of themselves and to make really, really good decisions. So that's where I'm coming from when I say that stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like when women take it into account or listen to things that you're saying, it can raise a red flag for them, or they immediately think that, oh, you're just a man who wants to control every aspect of another person's life. And my thoughts on that is like, how is that beneficial at all to you at all, to control somebody else's life, have her be upset or angry or sad with the position that she's in? Why, as a man, would you not want your wife to be in the happiest position as possible? And a common piece of criticism, and especially on the video that we showed at the top of the show, was that how dare you not want a woman to have a life of her own? How dare you not want her to, create her own worth and do her own job? And what is your response when you get criticism like that? Because I imagine you get it often.
Yeah, when girls say like, "How dare you not want her to have her own life?" You're asking for that?
Yeah.
You're dumb. Like, what a stupid thing to say. She's gonna have her own life. Obviously, she's gonna do her own stuff. Everybody needs something in their life that they're passionate about, something that they get and source fulfillment from, and she'll have that. But she's not gonna have that going to an office at 9 a.m. and pushing a bunch of buttons and taking shit from her work and getting hit on by all of her coworkers. Like, no, I'm not. I'm a chess player. I'm not going to put my wife in that situation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work twice as hard, make twice as much money, let her stay home and say, "Hey, baby, pick whatever you want to do. Anything you can do, like from home, or like you don't have to be gone in the morning. You don't have to be around a bunch of men that are going to hit on you and give you crap, and you don't have to listen to them. Be your own boss. You can do whatever you want to do. You want to start a business, you want to do interior design, like whatever, until we have kids, and then it becomes a different story. But yeah, I'm giving her the option. So like, if you guys want to sit here and say I'm a red flag and whatever because I'm not letting her go slave away at some corporate job, I'm gonna call you crazy. Like, you're actually insane. How could you not think about it like one step further? I'm giving her any opportunity that she wants. I'm giving her ultimate freedom. I'm not controlling her. I'm giving her freedom. Like, that's what I'm doing. So they're dumb. They're just stupid. I don't know.
Fair enough. And Taylor, do you second? Like, what are your thoughts? I want you to chime in.
Well, I think it's just important to note that the woman in this scenario that he's describing is voluntarily complicit in this relationship, and the relationship he's describing is the relationship that he wants for himself, that the other woman would agree to, and she would want that situation. And the picture he just painted sounds pretty appealing. If I'm a woman, I mean, come on,
right?
Like, that doesn't sound like the worst arrangement in the world. But I don't think he's saying that every single relationship has to be like that. He said before, if you're a woman and you want to go try to be that career woman, and you think that that's where your happiness is going to lie, like, hey, more power to you. But we shouldn't. I don't get why it's always a one-way street, where it's like, unless you as a woman are being the career woman, feminist activist, doing all this stuff, you're not celebrated. And if you embrace the traditional role, if you choose that for yourself, if you believe that you'll be happier in a situation like the one he's describing, that's become some shameful thing where you're like betraying your whole gender or whatever. And I don't think that's healthy. And I think it's become so difficult for healthy relationships to form between men and women in the modern age, because we've deconstructed all of this generations of wisdom and even evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology that we just try to deny and suppress down and pretend like men and women are the same, or that women should be more like men and men should be more like women. And all this deconstruction has gotten us nowhere except making more people depressed. Men, you get the incel stuff coming out of that, and then you get the depressed 40-year-old career woman. And again, always you can say there's exceptions to everything, and people should have freedom to choose the life that they want, and that we shouldn't have these rigid standards enforced on every single person, and you have to only do it this way. No one's saying that anymore, but we should be able to acknowledge that following some of this traditional paths that are carved out, that are based in the realities of the differences between men and women, is a good thing, and it's okay. And people that tend to follow those tend to end up with happier relationships, at least anecdotally, and I'm sure you could find evidence to bear that out as well.
Yeah, it's reminding me. We watched Don't Worry, Darling for the show, and everything that you guys are saying is reminding me of that, because spoiler alert for those of you who have not watched the movie and plan to, this whole movie is like this horror thriller, and at the end of the movie you find out that these evil men kidnapped these women and put them in this virtual reality, and in the virtual reality They go to work every day, come home, like satisfy their woman. She makes dinner or whatever and just keeps care of the house. And he provides everything for her. And it's so crazy to me that, like, obviously a feminist, Olivia Wilde, made that film. And that's her view of a nightmare. And that's her view of what men would do to take advantage of women, is to go out and work as hard as they can every day, come home, take care of their partner and make sure that they're happy. Like, that is the feminist fever dream of the modern day and age. So that's just so insane to me. And it does give way to things like incel culture. Like, a lot of these feminists complain about incels and are so terrified of incels, but are not taking stock at all in how their ideology and the things that they're saying could very well be creating these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I just one last thing I wanted to wrap up, and then we can go back. I want to say, I think it's incredibly ironic that girls that go out and have the career, and if you want to do it, go for it. But girls that do become depressed and they wish that they didn't, and girls that have kids are happy, right? So you can go and look this up. So you can live your life however you want to live it. I'm going to go out here on the internet and say, this is how I'm going to live my life. You have no business saying I can't live my life the way I want to live it, because I'm not saying you can't live your life the way you want to live it. But if you look in the future, I win. Like, my scenario wins. That's why I'm doing it. So if you want to say that my scenario is the wrong way, I'm just going to say that's really ironic, but okay, like, whatever, do your thing. So we can go on from that now.
Yeah, no, I do think it's important to look at the outcomes of this sort of stuff. And unfortunately, I don't think it's something that a lot of women are going to realize until they're living it, until they're actually there, because there's a lot of stubbornness in wanting to stick with it and keep with it, even through the trials and tribulations. And in part, that's good. But at the end of the day, when you've missed a boat that you can't get back on, like, there's no calling it back. There's no saying, I want to take it on this train after it's gone. So that's the tough part. And I think there's a lot in both men and women right now, and it could be because of like social media and just the culture right now, that we are hell-bent on instant gratification and only caring about ourselves and our main character moment and self-love and all these different things. And while it's great to appreciate yourself and love yourself, what else? Like, what's next? What are we working towards? And now we're being told that, especially if you have an ideal version of what life is meant to look like and of what people are supposed to work towards, you are bigoted, you're misogynistic, you're racist, whatever the word is for the time. If you have an ideal that you're striving towards, you're doing something wrong. And I'm curious if that's what you've encountered, because your whole career and everything you do on YouTube is about striving towards something beyond.
Yeah, it is. And I'm sorry, I don't really understand what it was that you're asking me.
Yeah, sure. Like, we're saying now, we're telling men that, like, if you have a view of an ideal man, like, he's supposed to be fit, he's supposed to get money, he's supposed to be a provider, you are bigoted, you're misogynistic. Okay. How dare you tell me that I should be anything other than what I am right now? Everybody is absolutely perfect as they are. There's nothing they need to do.
Yeah. So the truth is we're living in a very narcissistic culture. We're living in a very self-entitled culture. People believe that they deserve things without working for them. They have no accountability. And it's just full of entitlement. That's what it really is. And we're seeing, like, this is funny. People don't, like, you see this trend, like, why would I have kids? Like, girls are saying, I don't want to have kids. Like, why would I have kids? I'm going to go travel the world and party. And I'm like, okay, I get it. It's your life. You can do whatever you want. But don't you think that's a little bit selfish of you? Like, don't you think that's a little bit selfish to surrender your duty as a human and to procreate and to do the best thing and the most beautiful thing that you could ever do, which is procreate and have kids. And you want to surrender that to just go and have cheap fun, to, like, just go and trade that in for a bunch of cheap dopamine with a bunch of people that don't matter, that are never going to take care of you. They're never going to make you, like, actually happy or fulfilled. And I just think that it's very selfish. I think it's very selfish. You're giving up the long-term game for the short-term fun, and that's a very selfish thing to do. So yeah, I think we live in a narcissistic society. Everybody is like, it's weird. Everybody has, like, this extreme self-confidence, but it's completely artificial. They have no business having this self-confidence. Like, you see girls, I see videos on YouTube or TikTok all the time where people go out to girls and be like, what do you rate yourself? Right? You've probably seen these. And all the girls are like, I'm a 10. Like, oh, I'm a 10. I'm a 10. And they don't have like any thought. Like, why do you think you're a 10? Like, why? And it's because they've been fed that. They've been told that they're 10s by their friends and by society and by whoever else. And they believe it because nobody challenges them. They still get attention from all the guys. They don't get humbled ever. So they live in this reality where they are entitled and they think that they are something that they're not. But as a girl, you have to earn that. You have to earn your 10 just as a guy does as well. And there's certain things that you have to do as a woman the same way that there's certain things I have to do as a guy to earn that. And so you have like this fake artificial confidence, and that's why somebody can like pretend to be so confident, but actually like simultaneously be depressed and anxious, is because their confidence isn't true. Now, if you earn it and you're competent, and let's say, for example, if you're a man, if you go to the gym for 3 years, if you work on a business and you make money and you actually earn it and you have that genuine confidence, then you'll lose the other negative half of it, which is like the depression and anxiety part of it. You'll just have actual confidence and you could walk around and be like, yeah, I'm an 8 or I'm an 8.5 or I'm a 9 because of this, this, and that. And same goes for girls. Like same goes for girls. Like, hey, I'm a girl. I've been in the gym. I've taken care of my past. I'm like kind, genuine, whatever the girl has to do. She can say the same exact thing. She'll have the actual confidence. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers something.
No, yeah. I guess on a philosophical level, I'm like, why should you ever answer that you're a 10 to anybody? Because you're leaving no room for anything to strive towards. You're leaving no room for improvement. You should always be saying something less than 10, regardless of where you are. I don't care if you're a man who's 6'4" with $1 million who looks like an Abercrombie and Fitch model. You should be putting your number lower than 10 because there's always something that you could be doing better. There's always room for more improvement, and nobody's keeping stock of that anymore. Now, outside of gender and feminism and all these other conversations, obviously people are going to hear this and they're like, yo, Sebastian's super conservative. Do you label yourself as a conservative? Are you into politics outside of those conversations?
No, I don't really subscribe to politics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't vote. I don't consider myself liberal or conservative. I think that on most issues in life, the truth lies in the middle, usually.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably do have more, like, I probably lean more on the conservative side with like my ideals and the way I want to live my life. But I like to believe that the truth is always going to be somewhere in the middle. And that's,
Yeah.
I believe that the people that run the world have two political parties, specifically to just always keep people fighting against each other. I think either way you go, Republican or Democrat, I think it's all corrupt. I think it's two paths that lead to the same door. So honestly, I don't care about politics. I'm not progressive. I'm not liberal, conservative, whatever. I just want to do my own thing in life. I want to navigate life on my own terms, and I want to be left alone because I'm a competent person. You know, I'm a smart person. I can figure it out on my own, and I don't want people telling me that it should be okay for my kids to be gay. I don't want people telling me that my wife has to go to work. I don't want people telling me that I have to do stuff. I want to just leave me alone. I'm good. I'll figure it out on my own. That's all I want.
We all just want to be left alone. I respect that. I think that's a vibe. We all just want to be left alone. So did you ever fall privy to any of these other ideas? Did you go through a phase of like falling for a lot of the stuff that we're seeing on the internet right now, or has it always been pretty steady for you?
No, I called bullshit like a long time ago.
Okay.
Like when I was 17, I was like, yeah, I don't think so. I think that when I was younger, I was just far more conservative. And as I get older, I kind of start to understand both arguments. We don't have to talk about this, but as an example, I'll bring it up. Like, sure. I'm pro-life, so that's how I feel. That's where I view whatever. When I was a kid, I was like a lot more strict and a lot more like angry or whatever you want to say about that. As I get older, like I understand, like I try to understand both sides, and I try to understand, like I have a nuanced perspective on everything. Cause like I said, I believe the truth is in the middle, but yeah, I've never really like I've never really been on the left, never really been progressive. I wouldn't say. Like the thing you have to understand is my mom grew up in a communist country. So like in a very religious communist country, like the problems that I see in America, these are not the problems that I grew up with. These are self-manufactured issues to keep people's lives interesting, to give some sort of artificial meaning to their life. Like, these do not exist. And if things actually were bad, if you actually had to wake up at 5 a.m. and walk in the freezing cold to get bread and milk like my mom did, if you actually have to do that, you're not going to give a crap about gender roles. You're not going to give a crap about wanting to go work a career. No, you're probably just going to sit your ass home and be happy that you don't have to do this stuff. Like, that's what I'm saying is, what if real stuff actually goes down and there's actual oppression and hardship, all this stuff will disappear. All of the politics, all of this crap will go away, and it will right quick too. And it'll probably happen in the future. Like, we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see these problems the same way people do.
Has your mom been setting things straight for you your whole life with the perspective that she has of having lived in Romania? Has she been just calling BS on this stuff, or is she pretty like even about it?
No, definitely not. My mom is the most religious, like, traditional thinking Romanian woman that you'll ever meet. Like, she has an accent, and she'll be like, no, this is bad. This is evil. This is the devil's work. And so, I mean, I grew up around that. I mean, obviously my mom, she's obviously, as she gets older and older, she sees a little bit of both sides as well, and she becomes more loving. But man, old Romanian women are like the most hard, cold, scary people that you'll ever meet. Like, they are straight up tough people. Way more than the guys. They are tougher than the guys. Romanian women are a different breed.
That explains a lot. That makes sense. All right.
Can I ask real quick? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
How have you avoided the victim mentality? Because I'm hearing a lot of your story, and it seems like young people today, you can easily hide behind I grew up in poverty and the system's against me. Capitalism sucks. I should be able to make a living wage working at McDonald's, or the fatherlessness issue that can be something that holds you back, or you avoided becoming like bitter at the world or bitter at existence and internalizing that and just being this angry person. You're someone with a lot of initiative, a lot of vision, a lot of passion. You've been able to land yourself and ground yourself in values that help propel you forward, that you can build a healthy life on. How have you avoided that victim mentality, and what are your thoughts on that mentality in this generation?
I don't know if I've actively avoided that mentality. I think just growing up the way that I did, I felt like everything was my fault. And from a very early age, I was always very accountable. I felt like, okay, I need to do this better. And I saw in the world that there was better, like better existed. And I knew that I could get better. Like, I knew that if people have something, they acquired it in some sort of way. And if I learn how they did it, I can do it too. So that's just, I don't know, that's just the way I've always thought about it. I've always had that mentality towards it. And getting a little bit older, I realized like it's not very hard to fall into a victim mindset, because you can blame the world for your problems. And the world is truly an unfair, and it's a hard place. It's a very tough place. But you can complain about it, and it won't change. Nothing's going to change, and your situation's not going to improve. So, I mean, do that once and figure out it's a waste of time, right? Like, I don't know why anyone would do that more than one time. It's like, okay, yes, the world's unfair. I agree. We're both there. But you can sit there and complain all day. I'm going to go work. Like, I'm going to go start walking uphill. I'm going to do something, because if I don't, nothing's going to change. I can't change the world, but I can change my life. So why would I sit there and do nothing?
Yeah, that's what my grandmother used to say. You can't control anything that happens to you for the most part, but you can always control your response and how you take it and the emotions that you utilize in response to it. And I think that is just a sentiment of an older generation that is not really growing right now, or is not being taught, because a lot of people feel really sensitive to that idea. Like, if something's wrong with the system always has to be changed. It always has to be transformed. And throughout your talking about all these issues, you've mentioned a few times that like these issues are artificial, they're being created. Other people are pushing this on others to take advantage of them, or to make them unhappy, or make them slaves to a corporation, whatever the case may be. I'm curious, who do you think these movers are of these ideas that are like hitting the soft minds of men and women? Who do you think's responsible for this?
Yes. Oh, this is what I love. So I just finished filming a podcast on this. I'm making a documentary on this. It's going to be like 30 to 40 minutes long on my channel. So, Amala, I encourage you actually to go watch this. And Taylor, I hope you watch it as well. I hope it's going to be very interesting. But here's the elevator pitch. So all the companies in the world eventually get bought up by bigger companies in that category, whether it's food, whether it's pharmaceuticals, media, whatever. So all the little companies are owned by a few big companies. All the big companies are owned by a few huge companies. And like those biggest companies are all owned by one company, and that company is private. Okay. So these people have all the money in the world. They're trillionaires 10 times over. And they've always had all the money in the world, and they've always been in this position. It goes back to whatever. They didn't just come into this. They have always been in power. And what happens is if you have all the money in the world, it doesn't mean anything. It becomes useless. So what you want then is power and control. And that is what these people want, and that is who runs the world. So what do you do? How do you control people? Like how do you keep them to not fight against you? Well, you have to start by making men weak. Now, testosterone has been naturally declining in men for like the past like 30 years. I'm not sure, but every single year it keeps getting lower and lower and lower. And that hormone, which is incredibly vital for a man, that's the stuff that like makes you like a hunter. It makes you want to do your own thing. It makes you want to be independent. It makes you want to whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And they are going to control the men by continuously making them weak and continuously making them feminine and pushing these ideas through celebrities that are bought and sold off to them, and through the media and through the movies like Disney. Of course, Disney bought and sold through them. They're going to push this idea of men being weak and women being strong, because they're messing up the natural order of humans. And so if they mess it up, then people cannot be strong. They cannot be like a family unit, like a strong, independent family, and fight against these people. So they're too busy arguing about what men should do and what women should do. And men are too afraid to stand up for anything anymore, because they're sitting around playing video games and watching porn all day, and they're just weak and their test is low. And women are masculine, and they're going out to jobs, and they're being told that that's what's going to make you happy and that's freedom, when in reality the studies show that it's exactly the complete opposite. And everyone's just depressed, and everyone's just lonely and sad, and nobody knows what's going on. And that's what they do, is they oppress you and they keep you distracted with all of these movies and all these video games and all this cheap dopamine, all these new products, all these stuff that you don't need. And they continue to oppress you and keep you distracted, and so that you can never build up enough power to go up against them. That's what they do. So that was a very bad explanation of it. I'm going to do much better in the documentary. But if you look it up, the whole world is owned by these people. Every single thing you see on the news, both sides of the news, all the products, all the shampoos, all the clothing, designer brands, everything, it all goes back to them. And what they want is they want to keep you at the lowest part. They want to keep you barely surviving. And this is people will say I'm crazy. This is not, it's already happening. Like 60% of people live paycheck to paycheck. How can you live and survive paycheck to paycheck? Like 60% of people in America are already like being pushed, like stepped on by a giant foot. And why they don't do anything about it, or why they don't like think about it and get angry. Why don't they get angry about it? Well, because their test has been declining for 40 years. I don't know, because they're too busy playing the newest video game that came out, because they're too busy subscribing to OnlyFans models, because they're taking shit from their wife. Like, I don't know why. There's 100 different reasons. But to me, like the fact that people are just barely surviving, and it's getting worse. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. In December of 22 was the 6th highest month in the last 50 years that people took out debt. So people are in more debt than they've ever been in ever. Interest rates are higher now. They're getting higher, and the rich are getting richer than they ever have before ever. So the middle class is going to be completely gone. It will not exist. And it will be people that have all the money and people that are struggling for food. That's all that's going to happen. So this is who we're up against. And all these ideas, all these progressive movements that you see in the media, that you see these like popular influencers talking about, these people are bought and sold by these people that control the world. And what's their agenda? They hate us. They want to keep us oppressed, and they will keep us oppressed. So if you want to live a good life, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Do literally the opposite and do your own thing. And that's how you'll find out. That's how you'll find a good life. That's I don't know. That's what I think.
True. We're getting into the most important topic at the very end of the show, Sebastian. We're gonna have to bring you back to like break this down. We're gonna get into all these corporations. It's something that we talk about on the show quite a bit. It's like when you We will have to react to the documentary on the show, because when you track down these movements as they pop up and you look around, and it's like Johnson and Johnson, Unilever, Coca-Cola, all of these corporations who are backing these different movements. I mean, like, look at Black Lives Matter and what happened in our country due to that, and how many corporations backed it. And you go ahead and track the money, or track the CEOs that are running these companies, or track world leaders of different countries. They're all coming together. They're meeting about their endeavors. They're meeting about different movements they want to push here in this country. And you could track it to so many different places. You know, a lot of people will say it's China. Like, China is making critical race theory videos for the United States, while not at all fueling any sort of divide within their own country. They're teaching their men to be masculine while funding the exact opposite in the United States. You could look at the World Economic Forum and them meeting, which I believe they're meeting right now as we're speaking, and all these different heads of corporations and companies and world leaders talking about how they can gain more power and create what is going to be a globalist economy where by 2030 you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And I think what people get confused about here is when we talk about totalitarianism or entities that are going to end up controlling our lives and holding us down, it's not going to look like the totalitarianism of the past, where it's like the military boot coming down on you and people banging on your door, KGB and all this different stuff, or even the likes of what your mom experienced in Romania. It's going to look like a soft totalitarianism where you have all the cushy comforts of your streaming services and Uber Eats and all these distractions and dopamine hits that distract you from what's really going on around you, and you'll be happy with nothing because they've created a world that fuels that for you. And people, again, will say everything's conspiratorial and you're wearing a tinfoil hat, but if you track it back, man, I mean, the receipts are there. It's insane.
No, it's not. The people that say that we're conspiracy theorists for believing what we believe, these are just ignorant people that have not done any research at all. So they're just making a claim with no evidence or no reason as to why they're making that claim. They've been fed that by the people that are controlling. They're like, oh, people that say the governments are corrupt, conspiracy theorists, and then the people that call us out, they're like, oh, no thought in my head, I'm just gonna hear something and spit it back out. Like, they don't even have internal dialogue. So yeah,
Right.
if you look it up, all these people at the top are friends, right? Like, and Elon Musk bought Twitter. All of us remember when we called election fraud. Remember when we called BS on COVID, when we said the vaccine wasn't worth it, when we said like all of this stuff, and people called us crazy. They censored us. They deleted the videos. Even some of my tweets got shadow banned. I got shadow banned, and they said that we were crazy. And now Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he's been releasing these files of actual proof of the government working with social media companies and saying, hey, censor that article or that study that shows immunity is more protective than a vaccine. Get that off. We don't want that. Hey, Facebook, censor things that are often true because it goes against our agenda. It's all been out and it's all been proved. So it's like, there's no conspiracy. We're not a conspiracy theorist anymore. Like this, we smelt bullshit and we've called it and we were right. Like, this is how it's going to be. And I don't know. I hope more and more people wake up to it. But the truth is most of the people are just completely like plugged in, like completely in the matrix, and they're stuck there. And like, I know your YouTube channel, you have 700K and I have 800,000 followers, but in the grand scheme of our country, like, we are so small. We are so small, and so many people don't know who we are. All of this information is public. Like, famous whistleblower Edward Snowden, he used to work for the CIA. He was there during 9/11. He said it himself that there's this there's this bill that was passed to increase and remove like the privacy to allow people the government to spy and surveillance American people. And so this vice president basically drafted up this bill, and they put it out there, and they called it the Protection and Privacy Act. And then, of course, no one ever heard about it, of course, because, something probably happened in the country, like who knows what. Someone said something about gay or something, racism, all over the news, and this bill just went completely unpassed, and it gave them more power. And so this is what the government does. The government will allow itself to give itself more power, and we have no say in it. Nobody ever heard about this. And in the scenes, behind the scenes, they're just getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And Edward also famously said, he's like, dude, there's people that that are in the office that tell the president what to do. And when a new president comes in, they're like, hey, this is like kind of what you're going to have to do. Otherwise, we own all the media companies. We're going to smear you and get you out. And we're going to make you look like a terrible person. If you don't listen, we're going to say you're a rapist. We're going to say that you are illegal. We're going to say whatever, but just make you look like a bad person and turn the whole country against you. He said that. Yep. Also, Putin said that, the guy in Russia. And guess what? So a perfect example to prove this is all true, because Edward Snowden came out, he said this was true, and then look, Trump gets in office, and Trump kind of has like an F it attitude, right? He's kind of like don't tell me what to do, like I'm a businessman, this type of stuff. And what happened to Trump? What did the media say about Trump? They absolutely destroyed him like no president in history ever. Yet we have Joe Biden here that is smelling little girls, that doesn't even know what's going on or where he's walking, the president of our country, and the media loves him. So like it's how can that not be undeniable proof to you? Like it's so obvious. It's so obvious that there's somebody with an agenda and they're obviously doing stuff to control us. And like I said, the best prison is the one where the prisoners do not even know that they're in prison. In fact, if you can even get the prisoners to support the system, that's brownie points. Now you're getting the prisoners to continue supporting the prison, and you're the easy work is just sitting back. You're just planting these ideas, and they're doing all of the legwork. And that's like what I believe feminism is. That's what I believe like racism is. Like I don't think these are real problems. I think that these are problems that are just like very, very carefully planted in society, and perpetuated through media machines and through celebrities and through movies. To all for part of this agenda, all part of this control and oppression agenda.
Yeah, you'll find that there's a connection every single place that you look, and they have this synergistic relationship with each other. They're colluding with the corporations, they're colluding with the media corporations as well, and big tech, and their insider trading, and gaining money and fame and more power as they're in these positions, and all the while making you feel like you know information that you don't know. And I think if anything has been highlighted in the past few months, even with Elon Musk buying Twitter and all these changes happening, it's people are waking up and realizing that, we're not really truly free because we're not truly getting all the information that we need to make real decisions. And we're being used as puppets in this larger game for somebody else's power and somebody else's control. And I wish we could go into another hour and talk about all of this stuff, because like we're just scratching the surface when it comes to probably the most important topic for people today, and especially those of you who are living here in the United States, although it's in other countries as well. Canada's doing this, France, UK, Europe, they're all going through this all over the world in some way, shape, or form. Sebastian, just give me your closing thoughts here, because a lot of people are going to hear from you, and hopefully a lot of you are new to Sebastian's channel, because like he said, he doesn't really talk about politics on his channel, and this is a little bit of a different podcast for him. What are your closing thoughts for especially young men who are going to be introduced to you right now, and your ideas and what you're putting out on the internet?
Yeah. Okay. So is your audience mostly men or women, or what's the...
It's a good, healthy half and half mix.
Okay, perfect. Nice. All right. Yeah. So for all the boys, listen up, boys. I need you all to come onto my channel, watch a couple of my videos, go on my Twitter, go follow me on Twitter, because Twitter, you'll get a more unfiltered, like impulsive, raw version of me, where I often call out all this crap. I make fun of people that deserve to be made fun of. Like I'm more raw there. So go follow me on Twitter. But here's what we're going to do, boys. We're going to actively work incredibly hard to become the absolute best version of ourselves in every realm possible. It's going to take years. It's going to be incredibly difficult, but after a couple of years, it's going to feel good, and you're going to keep going, and it's going to just continue to feel good. You're going to feel so proud of yourself. You're going to be so happy with yourself. You're not going to feel worthless anymore. And when you get up there, you're going to get the car that you've always dreamed of. You're going to get the respect from the people, and you're going to get whatever girl you want in the entire world. Okay, so life is great. This is what we need to do. We need to become the best versions of ourselves. And for the women, please listen to me or anyone that shares these types of views. Like Amala, please listen to Amala. Like I have a ton of respect for you, and I'm so thankful that you brought me on here. But I am genuinely so worried for you guys, because like she said earlier, if you don't make the right moves now, it will be too late. And you only have one life here on this planet, right? Until you go to heaven if you're Christian, but you only have one life here, and you don't want to blow it. And you don't want to blow it. And this is coming from a place of love. Like, this is coming from my love of all humans, my love of all humanity. I can't imagine, I cannot wrap my mind around how many women are out there childless, that are out there lonely, working a job that they hate, and it's too late and they can't do anything. There's probably millions of them, and I just think about them and I feel so bad. So for all the women that are young, you have an opportunity now, and you need to be very careful. You need to be very careful with your life, and you need to make very good choices. So if you're going to follow me and you're a girl, that's fine. Obviously, listen to Amala. She's definitely knows what's going on. So yeah, that's my final message to everyone.
No, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate your time and being on. I'm of course going to keep following you. I'm excited to see the different things that you get up to and different challenges that you take on in life, because it's in rare form right now, especially on the internet. So I'm so excited for what you're going to do. And where can everybody follow you? Like, what are you under on all platforms? I'm sure it's Sebastian Ghiorghiu, correct, on everything?
Yeah, so follow me on YouTube for learning, just Sebastian Ghiorghiu. On Instagram, it's Seb. But I mean, you could find everything else if you go to my YouTube. So actually,
Sure.
Oh, hold on. I can't believe I forgot this. I just got my personal website done. So SebastianG.com, just the letter G. So SebastianG.com.
Dope.
You can find my YouTube. You can find all my social medias. You can find all of my work, my agency. You could find, I gave away 100K like 2 months ago. I hosted a competition. So I might do it again in the future. You can come join. You can find all of the information about Sebastian on SebastianG.com. So go there.
Amazing. And we'll link it in the description down below so you guys can check it out down there. Definitely go and follow Sebastian. Leave a comment down below. What is your view on all of these topics? Of course, we put out some spicy takes on this podcast. I'm sure many of you will agree and disagree. So drop it down below. We always like to have some healthy debate. And what are you looking for in your future Mrs. or Mr.? Are you looking for a trad wife or a Chad, a Giga Chad? Let me know in the comments down below. Or are you already married and that's exactly what you got? Let us know. And again, have a healthy debate. Follow Sebastian, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Bye, guys.